We won state in 1991, the Sullivan girls basketball team. But to get there, it started when we were freshmen, sophomores. Misha Coy, Becky Clayton, and myself were freshmen, and we started varsity, 3 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and a senior. And our coach said, pulled out a map of the state of Illinois and said, we had trouble finding Sullivan on the map, but we said, by the time you leave here, you're going to win state. And it was a pretty lofty goal. And as a 14-year-old kid, you're like, sure, that'll happen. We went 17-9 that year. We had a good season for Sullivan. Our first game of the year, we played Arcola at Arcola, and we beat them. And they had a 93-game Little Ocala Valley Conference winning streak. Next year, our sophomore year, we got a good group of freshmen coming in, Tiffany French, Sherry Adams, Stephanie Monroe, and Kristen Grooms. And we went 28-1. We made it to the Super Sectionals, which is the top 16 teams in the state. We lost by T-Town by 30-some points. They were really tall, really good, and we had a lot to learn from that. You know, when we first started, my freshman year, for girls' games, they pulled out one side of the bleachers. By the time we finished our sophomore year, both sides of the bleachers were out. The gym was packed, and people were coming to watch us. We went undefeated my junior year in the regular season, and we were ranked 5th in the state. We met T-Town again in the Super Sectionals. They were ranked 3rd, and we played them in a tough battle at Warrensburg-Latham. The gym was packed. We lost to T-Town again by 1 point. The state championship was held at Assembly Hall there at U of I, and we went and watched there as a team, and T-Town blew everybody out. And not that we didn't need motivation, but we said, this is going to be us next year. We can't sit here again and watch this. Senior, junior year, we went into with the goal of winning state, and we started off really well. In the regular season, we averaged like 72 points a game and only gave up 40, so we were beating teams by 30-some points. We only got out-rebounded 1 time in my 4 years, and we weren't very big. We had 1 6-footer, and that was, Becky Clayton. The season was special. The crowds were unbelievable. The sea of red and black, people coming to our games. The crowds just kept getting bigger and bigger for home and away. Our first game in state, we won by 3 points. We beat Georgetown Ridge Farm, and that was played at the Assembly Hall. And Stephanie Monroe had the game of her life and put us over the edge to win that. Next day, in the morning, we played Elgin St. Edwards, I think at like 9 or 10 in the morning. And we beat them by double digits. And then that night, we had to come back and play in the state championship. So we had to play 2 games in 1 day, 3 games in 2 days. But we had a lot of depth. We were conditioned for that. We played all summer more than 1 game a day. I just remember being in the huddle before the state, in the Assembly Hall tunnel before the game. And we're lined up there in our red and black warm-ups, and Seneca is on the other side. That's who we played. And we're singing "We Will Rock You" by Queen. We're pumped and ready to go, and they're over there looking a little nervous. And we just came out and dominated from the get-go. We were up 24-11 at the end of the first quarter. We were up 43-23 at half, and I think we won like 65-48. So, like I said, it was great. The fans were fantastic. It was red and black all over the place. As special it was for us, we realize now it was special for a lot of people too, especially our family. And doing what we did, 35-0, is not easy to beat people. And we were humbled by it all, but we stayed humble because our parents were such big supporters and kept us grounded, and our coaches kept us grounded. And we had the right values and stayed on path on what we needed to do. We ended up ranked 14th in the nation by the USA Today, which is pretty good for a small little town in Sullivan, Illinois. And even the AA winner wasn't even ranked as high as us. So it was a special time. I keep saying special, but it was really neat. I'm glad I'm still friends with all my teammates, and they were able to share it with me, and it was a lifetime of memories that we'll never forget.
For me personally, I became a member in 1971, and as of this year, I've got 49 years of continuous service in. When I went through the chain of command, I followed Pat Frazier, Bob England, and I had different guys help me along the way: Kenny Lorenzen, Paul Romano, Burl Jividen, Sam Kenton. And for me to know some of the history of the American Legion, be able to sit here today and talk about it, it's because those guys taught me, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. The dates of March 15th, 16th, and 17th in 1919 where the concept of the American Legion was formed in Paris, France. The war was over, but it was going to take months to get all the doughboys home from France back to the United States. And a caucus of men got together over there, and they decided to create a group that would serve veterans and serve widows and the orphans of men that had died. Plus, they wanted to be able to serve the disabled veterans. And that's kind of how the concept of the American Legion got started. Later that year, they had a caucus meeting in St. Louis, and some veterans of Moultrie County went to that caucus meeting to gather information about how veterans throughout the United States were going to form an American Legion group and help serve veterans and their families. When those members of Moultrie County got back to Sullivan, they created a letter and they called it a call. And they sent it out to all the soldiers, the sailors, and the Marines that resided in Moultrie County that had served. On July 4th, 1919, the veterans of Moultrie County gathered here at the Moultrie County Square at the courthouse, and they all signed and submitted an application to form the American Legion post in Moultrie County. The American Red Cross presented these veterans with an American flag. They marched around the square and they went north to Wyman Park. Now, once they got to Wyman Park, these soldiers did some military drills for the crowd, and they made some speeches. And then the crowd and the veterans were all invited over to what was then the high school for a chicken dinner. The newspaper articles had this all printed out as to what was going to happen that day. And there was one part even that said that there was 600 chickens that participated in the ceremony. So that was always kind of neat, part of the story. A few weeks later, on July 21st, 1919, at a temporary headquarters in New York, the president of the National American Legion signed the original charter to form Post 68 as the Moultrie County American Legion Post. Now, from 1919 to 2019, we were getting ready to celebrate our 100-year anniversary. And with that, the American Legion formed a committee, and our committee decided they'd like to create a memorial walk to honor our veterans, but also to honor community members who have gave to the community and supported the American Legion. So it grew from just veterans to a community project, and it really turned out well. I'd like to think last year when we had that 100-year celebration, it was reminiscent of the celebration they did in 1919 when the veterans of the World War marched to Wyman Park also.
Sullivan is blessed in an unusual way, in my personal experience, in that we have today two a traditional and a nature preserve park, and they happen to be across the street from each other. But there is a third park that was unofficial back in the times of Abraham Lincoln, and that was called Freeland Grove, which was on the south edge of today's Wyman Park. And so I thought this would be a positive thing to remind people that Lincoln and Douglas had this debate series, as everyone probably knows, in 1858, a couple of years before Mr. Lincoln was elected president. So the two of them are running for U.S. Senate, and they ended up one at the courthouse, obviously in the center of the city, but the other one went to Freeland Grove, and the one went north to Freeland Grove with Mr. Lincoln. And he spoke to his friends at that grove, and that grove was sort of an unofficial park. They didn't have a park in 1858. But then the second park came by way of an unusual story, at least in my experience, of a German immigrant by the name of Albert Wyman. And eventually came to Sullivan almost penniless, but he had a good trade, and that was he was a shoemaker. And in the course of time, lived a single life and became a very successful shoemaker and a shoe salesman, building a store on the southwest corner of the square. At his death in 1912, Albert left some money to the city to build a park because he was discouraged that there was no place to walk safely around Sullivan. And he grew up in his early life in Germany, where they had lots of parks. So he left some money. It was only about $50,000. But remember, this is 1912, and today that's worth about $1.1 million. And they were able to have a big competition for land for the park, and the tightest land on the north side of the city, immediately north of that first unofficial park, adjacent to it. And that became a 40-acre park that today is well known as our traditional Wyman Park. And with all of the family activities, and you know, it's a rather boisterous place at times. 3 ball diamonds. There's a man-made lake at the north end. And of course, there's circles, roads around the entire park, which are, of course, can be very safely, you can walk. Well then, now we fast forward to 1981, and across the street from both Freeland Grove and Wyman Park, there was another farm, and it was owned by the Tabors. And the Tabor farm became the third park I'm going to discuss, and it's the second official park, but it's a bit different. Same size, remarkably, about 40 acres. Well, the Tabor farm didn't need a lot of conversion because it had a creek running through the middle of it, but it is a nature preserve. So we have a traditional park on one side of North Worth Street, and we have a nature preserve on the east side. And it is truly one of my favorite places to walk. You can walk on both sides of the creek. The creek runs the entire length of the park, and it's just a wonderful place to relax. It's quiet. So between those 3 locations, all touching each other, except for a street running through the middle, I find that just remarkable that a small town could be blessed with 3 significant tree-lined, tree-filled areas.
In 1960, there was a group of young men that got together, and they were looking for a way to promote Sullivan. Not an unusual type of thing that anybody would do in a small town, but these young men, Paul Romano and Jim Rhodes, and then Bill Stubblefield and Bob Livergood were the ones that spearheaded what was going to happen. The idea was hatched that they would invite Vice President Richard Nixon and Senator John Kennedy, who was running for President of the United States in 1960. They were hoping to duplicate, it really wasn't a debate, but it was the 2 people were in the same town at the same time, so they were going to perform in the same area that Abraham Lincoln had given his speech at the park area. So the first thing they had to get done was they had to get Nixon and Kennedy to agree to come. 8 weeks after asking Nixon if he would be willing to come to this event, he agreed to. Sullivan was thrilled. They were halfway done with what they needed to get done. And so the wait now was, will Kennedy show up? This drug on and on and on. And finally, they get a letter from Kennedy saying, things just do not work out campaign-wise and traveling and this type of thing. And so Nixon was going to be the speaker on September 22nd, 1960. And all of the area was abuzz that a dignitary of this, and the only one that has ever been of this high official in the city of Sullivan, was coming in September. Schools were going to get out. Everybody was stirred up with emotion, pride that this was going to happen. And the whole town, again, was involved in it because everybody had something to do, whether it was cleaning up an area, whether it was painting an area, whether it was just making something presentable, getting food, all of these type of things. Somebody had something to do. And of course, we had to have the buffalo because it was the buffalo barbecue that he was coming to. And the buffaloes were south of town. And they were out in the field, and everybody was watching those. And that was a big treat for all of us at that time. As a kid, especially, go out and look at the buffaloes. You know, they were big, enormous. They were bigger than life for anything, even for farm boys that had cattle and stuff like that. They were huge. But the barbecue was going to go on. And so Nixon came to town. The school was let out. I think he spoke around 3 o'clock. He was supposed to speak at 3 o'clock, and he was going to be gone by 4:15. And in doing that, he had about 50,000 people, they say, that was in this town at that time. People were lining the roads to see the caravan come down with Nixon on it. And everything was crowded. Traffic was crowded. And of course, everything was wide open when he wanted to leave because of the police and everything like that. But on a side note on this, I can remember running exactly along the side of Richard Nixon's car, convertible, getting his autograph. It was so unreal because when you're out in the crowd, it was just like there's thousands of people out here, and you couldn't even comprehend what things were going on, and there was little things going over here and things going over here. But it was an excitement that was unbelievable at that time.
In 1960, here in Sullivan, they had a buffalo barbecue event in honor of then Vice President Richard Nixon, who was running for presidency against Kennedy in the 1960 election. And my Boy Scout troop, I think it's Pac 39 here in Sullivan, I was a member of. And it was our Boy Scout troop that was selected to be security, believe it or not, around Nixon's picnic table. I was stationed right behind Vice President Nixon and his wife, Pat. They brought him and presented him with a buffalo barbecue sandwich on a tiny paper plate and a soda. He took, I think, 3 or 4 bites out of it and made some very nice compliments about how tasty it was, and thank you very much, and excused himself. And when he got up to leave, he left that half-eaten sandwich on the picnic table, on the paper plate, and everybody else went to follow him, and my duty was over, so I picked up the plate and the sandwich, hopped on my bicycle and rode home and told my mother. I said, Mom, I've got Vice President Nixon's sandwich that he didn't finish. She said, what do you want me to do with it? I said, freeze it. So she put it in a plastic baggie and put the baggie inside of a Musselman's applesauce glass jar, stuck it in the freezer, and that was a Friday. By Monday, my mother was working at the courthouse and mentioned that to one of the other courthouse workers, and a reporter heard that, came out to our house, and wrote a short story for the Moultrie County News at that time, and took my picture with the sandwich and the plate. Fast forward to 1988, there was a lady working for Mattoon or Decatur paper named Vicki Shaw. And Vicki was purging files in 1988 because that was also an election year. And she ran across that original article and she thought, wouldn't it be fun just to reminisce? And so she called me, she tracked me down. I was in Springfield at the time. and wanted to redo the story. She came over to Springfield, redid the whole thing, only there's a second half to that story. After she wrote it, it hit the wire services, UPI, AP, till finally I had a phone call after work one day on my answering machine at home, and she introduced herself as being with The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. Call this number. I said, yes, it's a joke. And I did not call back, so she called again. I thought, well, maybe I better return her call. So I did, and it was on the up and up. They wanted to know, would I be interested in flying out to Hollywood, bring that frozen sandwich with me, and would I like to be a guest on The Tonight Show? I said, yeah, I'll do that. So I took my glass jar with the barbecue sandwich in it and set it down on his desk, and then he interviewed me, much like we're doing now, and he wanted to know all about it. So I told him all about it. They'd also flown in some fresh buffalo barbecue meat that he took a bite from and made a comment about it, how good it tasted, much like Nixon did. But he also had a napkin, but no receptacle, no waste can. So he was looking around trying to figure out where to throw it away. I said, here, I'll take that. He said, oh, you want the napkin too? I said, sure. And that got a big laugh, and that was pretty much the end of the show. So this whole thing, I've called it the story that won't die. It's 60 years now, this coming September. I didn't think this would ever evolve into what it has become, but it's just been good, clean fun, which we need right now.
Hey, we are back. We just had some more great stories to share with you, and there you heard all about that famous sandwich that Steve was talking about just a little bit ago.
What a great storyteller Steve is, and all of our storytellers, they just have so much enthusiasm, and I think, man, going against all the roadblocks that we had coming up, and yet they were so excited to tell their story, and you can see that tonight as you watch the stories about this charming little town of Sullivan, Illinois, a town of 4,400 people. So we really need, with 4,400 people in the town, we need you to pick up the phone and call us tonight and talk to these 4 storytellers that are here, because we're excited about them being here. One DVD tonight is $75. 2 or more are $60 each. You cannot beat that. You can buy as many as you want. We've had some people to buy 6 DVDs
That's right.
tonight.
We've got some shout-outs that we want to give, but get those phones ringing. I'm going to start giving some shout-outs here to Trudy from Sullivan, Joe from Sullivan, who is also a storyteller. We have George from Sullivan, John England, Robert and Teresa Lane, and Mary Kay from Sullivan. Who do you have?
Oh my goodness, we have the great Paul Stone, and Peggy Peggy Reeder, Jason Drury, Deborah Best. All of these people are from Sullivan. Mimi Atheson and Nancy Drury.
That's awesome. We have 30 orders in right now for DVDs, and we're over $2,000 right now, $2,200, something like that.
There is nothing
awesome.
I love better than sending out DVDs. I love to put packages together and put a little note in there that tells you how much we love you.
There we go. Got you coming in.
So thank you for the calls. Please keep calling. Call the neighbor and tell them, call that number on the screen, and let's get some more DVDs ordered tonight.
That's right. There's another phone ringing right there. It's fun when we get a phone blitz. That means every single phone is ringing right now. We're swapping phones back and forth again. That's okay. Just as long as you keep calling and supporting your friends and neighbors. The storytellers from Sullivan. Paul, I think you're going to have to grab Amanda's phone right there. We've got
so cool.
Richard Glazebrook back here. Who's going to talk to the mayor? That'll give us a phone blitz right now. Call the mayor. Hey, someone from the American Legion, call the mayor because they're having a watch party tonight at the Sullivan American Legion. There we go. We've got a phone blitz. Yes.
This is great.
And we want to thank you for that. We want to thank all of you at the American Legion tonight. We want to thank John England for opening that up and having a watch party for folks over there to celebrate with us. We wish you could be here, but I'll tell you what, we're glad that we can be there with you via the airwaves.
And I know that Amanda's been receiving, they'll send her photos on her phone tonight of how excited they are at the American Legion watching tonight.
Yeah.
So a group of Sullivan townspeople are there watching this show because they love their town. And we know you love Sullivan as well, and you love these stories, such rich history. And I mean, to think, Richard Nixon coming through Sullivan and taking 2 or 3 bites off of a sandwich, and Steve Jenny runs home with the sandwich, and his mom puts it in a mason jar, and it's still in that jar today.
I know, and the story just keeps going and going and going, and he's with us here tonight to talk about it. He's taking some DVD orders back here. This is awesome. Sullivan, this is really awesome. In the second break right now, we've got every single phone busy. And we have a lot of orders coming in. We had a lot of orders that first break. You can call when the stories are being told on TV. We're still here in the studio to take your calls, whether you see us or whether you don't.
Yes, and when we do come back on, we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah.
Remember, it's only $75 for 1 DVD. 2 or more are $60 each. So please, get your DVD tonight. Get 2 DVDs. Give it to a neighbor. Give it to a family member. Give it as a Christmas gift, you know? Isn't it pretty great? Because Christmas is coming just around the bend here. And wouldn't it be wonderful to give your loved one something that is so special about this charming little town of Sullivan?
That's right. I think that they were swapping phones back there. We're going to see if we can grab Paul's note here in just a second. Here we go. You want to grab it again? That's all right. Hey, however it comes in, it comes in.
We love to get interrupted with phone calls. That's what we want.
Yeah. And once again, we are streaming online tonight on our website, WEIU.net, to the 22 counties that we're broadcasting to. But we're streaming all over the world tonight on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So if you missed that earlier in the program, be sure to let your friends outside of the area know that they can watch anywhere in the world tonight and see all of these wonderful stories that we're sharing with you.
Oh, yes. And I know that you are loving these stories. You can feel their heart as they're sharing their story with you. It's so important to the storytellers as they sat down on that couch at the little theater, and in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of so many obstacles to try to stop it, and yet they wanted to tell their story. That is just so phenomenal to me that we followed the guidelines, we did what we could do to keep everyone safe and healthy, and they came out and with enthusiasm shared their story. Look at this tonight. This is so great.
He's cracking me up back there.
I love this.
I love it too. I'll tell you what, I got another challenge I want to put out there.
Cool.
So I was going to talk to Amanda, but she's really busy back here on the phone, which is okay with us. But if you were part of that basketball team, because I know that you're watching and you're calling in, you're texting her, you're heckling her a little bit, and that's okay. We're all having fun tonight. You give us a call and you order a DVD, and you keep a piece of that memory with you on DVD. What'd you say, Kelly? Jacksonville, Florida. Somebody's watching out of state.
Isn't that great?
Yes, we had Kokomo, Indiana earlier. That's really great.
You know, I think that was one of Steve's ex-girlfriends.
That's okay. Hey,
back
you know what?
in the day, how great is that?
That's
when I
awesome.
asked Steve about coming down, he says, "Now, is it okay if my ex-girlfriends all call me?" And I said, "Well, of course it's okay." And so, sure enough, they're calling him tonight.
That's all right. Hey, I want to mention somebody else who's in the studio this evening supporting her husband of 35 years. We have Sandy Stone over there on the other side. Sandy, thank you for coming. She was a school teacher for several years in Sullivan. And so if you had Sandy Stone as a teacher, she's here tonight supporting all of us, and she did a lot of teaching in her day. So she's here with her husband, Paul, who's continuing to answer the phones for us. You give us a call, and we'll tell her that you called in on her behalf as well.
This is just phenomenal. Look at this. This whole entire segment right now that we're talking, they've all been on the phones constantly. This is so wonderful. We can tell that you love Sullivan. And we can tell that you're loving these stories because we are getting DVD orders left and right. This is so phenomenal, and we're so happy. You know what, Keanne, I am grateful every day of my life because I get to come and work on an amazing job like this, to get to talk to people, to get to work with staff people that I just love. And it's so wonderful. I feel so blessed and so honored to get to be part of great stories like Sullivan and get to share them with the world and have you get excited, because you know how we know you're excited? Because these phones are burning up tonight. That is so cool. It's the greatest thing in the world. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for calling in. The phones have been on a phone blitz. Amanda is available right now. Amanda, I'm going to grab you while the phone's not ringing right now, but I hope it rings and interrupts us. But I'll tell you what, I just gave a challenge out to your teammates to call in and order DVDs, but you told me just a few minutes ago, there, go ahead and get it. I'll get back to you. That's okay. Take the orders. Hopefully that's one of our teammates right there.
I love it.
You know what, speaking of other things in Sullivan, one of the other stories that we had here was the tale of 3 public parks. And that is so cool for a town that size to have 3 parks back in the day, but still 2 parks. And one is the nature trail and one is more of a play type park, and they're beautiful.
They're beautiful. And Keanne, I think every time we've been over there, there's been people all out there enjoying that beautiful park. And like you said, the other one, the Tabor Park, it's more of a trail, a hiking trail. And so I really couldn't see if there was cars there, so I know people were out there on that. But I mean, how phenomenal in this little town to be able to have such a wonderful atmosphere for the people to enjoy.
Absolutely.
And they really do enjoy it.
Yeah, and Joe, you told that story so well. It made me want to go over there. I took my son over there and we got some dinner and we took it out on the little pier there at the lake, and then we went over to the playground, and so it was a lot of fun, and I would never have known had we not done this story and heard that.
Well, and I think in the story, it shows Braden out playing on the playground. I mean, that is so cool. So listen, if you're a friend of Braden's and Keanne's, pick up the phone and call tonight. $75 for 1 DVD. 2 or more are $60 each. You cannot beat this bargain basement prices. This is so cool to be able to have wonderful DVD, 17 stories, Braden playing in the park, and all of us enjoying Sullivan. And we're so excited that you can enjoy Sullivan with us tonight. So
That's
please
right.
pick up the phone and call.
I want to know if anyone has, does anyone have any order forms done that you can hand to us? We can give some shout outs right now.
Yes.
There's a couple. Do you have a couple filled out?
Okay. I've got Clayton Roney called in from Florida. That's from Jacksonville, Florida. Debbie Groom called in from Sullivan. Nancy Shaljo, I hope I said that right. Gosh, I am a hillbilly from the mountains of Virginia. I mean, like, I don't know. Our names are like Brown, Smith. Is it good? Okay, Shaljo. And she is from Sullivan. And Dave Dolan from Sullivan called in. So
Awesome. I've got a couple here too. Cool. I hope it's Danelle from Decatur and Nancy from Sullivan. We want to thank both of you for calling in as well. I'm going to hand these over to Tania so we can keep track of everybody here and give her these back as well. But we're going to get back to the show here momentarily, but the phones are hot right now, so we're going to stay with you for a couple more minutes.
Yes.
The next story is coming up in the following segment here. Are Paul Stone, once again, he's talking about the Historical Society over there. It's a great museum.
This is the funnest story.
It's a fun story. It kind of reminds us of Antiques Roadshow.
It does.
We've also got Winifred Titus Sentel. The boys basketball team goes to state. The Civic Center from Bill Hagan, who called in earlier, and Brown Shoe Company, which is a really cool story in the history of all of that. That's coming our way as well.
It is. So we're just excited for you to join us for these couple of hours and just feel the excitement. You know, we, of course, because of the guidelines, we couldn't have a full crew here tonight. We couldn't have a studio filled with
they're doing it at the American Legion.
I know. Isn't that so cool?
Normally we would have
finding
this
a way.
place full with food and everything, but they opened up the rest, the ovens there. They're having pizza and drinks and
but you know what?
Celebrating.
I don't know that we could have any more excitement, even if it was completely
you're still
filled up
bringing it
tonight.
our way.
This is so cool.
Yeah, we
Thank
really really
you all
appreciate everything
so
you're
much.
doing. We've got about 1 minute before we're going to get you back to the show. But still, when the show is on, you can still call us. We're here, we're live, we're waiting for you to call us on the
She was
phone.
queen.
The online orders are also coming in
Nancy
as well.
Shaldo.
A couple of those shout-outs were for online
Mayor
orders.
Glazer just told me that Nancy Shaldo that called, she was a queen, a homecoming queen here at EIU.
Oh,
beautiful.
wow. Hey, that's awesome.
So beautiful, Nancy. We're so glad that you called us tonight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I know that you all are enjoying this. I know that you can feel the excitement. My goodness, it is buzzing in this place. We're so happy to be here. The storytellers are so excited to be here and take these phone calls. Please keep calling tonight. We want to sell DVDs galore.
That's right, but right now we're going to get you back to the show, so don't go anywhere. More stories coming your way. For Sullivan, this is our story.